Hello and welcome. I'm the Theory Detective. In these lessons, we'll uncover the mystery of music theory. Now, earlier, we had learned about major keys, or the major sound. There's our C major, and our major sound will always be bright, happy, pleasant, uplifting. Now, the minor sound is very different from the major. It will always sound a little darker, a little sadder, maybe a little mysterious, or even scary. These are the two most common sounds in Western music, the major and the minor. I'll do it again, the major and the minor. Now, our first major key or major scale that we learned was the C major scale. It gave us only name notes, starting from C and going all the way up to C. C, D, E, F, G, A, E, and then C again. Now we're going to start on a different note, our first minor key. But just like when we started with the majors, we only had white notes on the keyboard or name notes. We're going to do the same with the minors. We're going to start with A. Listen to it. Listen again. Now here's what we would have if we had major and minor. It's a little bit lower. So we start on the A, and I'll show it to you right down here. There's our A, and we're going to go up to B, C, D, E, F, G, and A again. So just like major scales are kind of based on C, here's our C space on the bass clef, minor scales are kind of based on A. And here's our A on the keyboard and our A on the bass clef. Let's find out what our pattern is. I'll give you red. A to B has a note in between, so this is a whole step. B to C has no note in between, so this is a half step. C to D has a note in between, so this is a whole step. D to E, note in between, so this is a whole step. E to F, no note in between, so this is a half step. F to G, whole step. And G to A, whole step. So now we have our minor pattern. Now our major pattern was whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So I'll write that here in blue to contrast. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So here we see major differences very early on. All of these sounds, all of these intervals that are changed, these change the way it sounds. I'll play you the first three notes of the major again. And here's the first three notes of the minor. That's this half step. That's a whole step. There's your half step. Here's the whole step. Here's the whole step. Whole step, half step. So now we have the very first difference between major and minor. This half step here gives it a darker, richer sound. I like to think of major as being like jelly beans and minor as being like chocolate. So they're both cool, they're both useful, but they have a little bit different sound, a little bit different quality. So let's see what it looks like on the bass clef here. A to B, whole step. There we are. B to C, half step, because there's no note in between B and C. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. because the E to the F has no note in between. So there's our half step. F to G, whole step, and G to A, whole step. Now, in minor, we'll oftentimes sharp the 7th note right there. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we might raise this note. And when we talk about the chords, we'll do that a lot. Later on in higher levels, I'll explain why we do that. But for now, just know that the 7th might be sharped or raised. For now, we'll just leave it like that. It might be raised. For here, I'm just going to use our natural scale as it normally is laid out in the basic form. So that would be our natural scale. And anytime you change the scale, that would be an alteration. So we'd have to give it another form name. But the natural scale would be the G is natural. The G is the original name note, the G. If it was altered, then we would add in a sharp right here before the G. Okay, so let's take a look at what the chord is. The major chord right here, major chord right here, because it has the sharp, versus our minor chord here. I'll play the major chord again with our C sharp. There's our C sharp right there. And I'll play them individually. And our minor chord. And there we are. So here, that is our one chord, or you can also call it the tonic if you want. That's our one chord. And this would be our one in major. I'll put that here, major, and this is, I'll put it down here, minor. And oftentimes for major, we will capitalize the letters, or if it's Roman numeral, we'll capitalize it like a big I. But for minor, we'll do a lowercase, so it'll be like that. And you notice I put a minor in here. So it'll be lowercase for minor and capital for major to distinguish between the two. Okay, go ahead and take out your flashcards. On the first one, minor scale. Go ahead and put the whole steps and half steps. It's also written over here. Just write it out very carefully. And remember the difference between the major. Major is whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whereas minor is whole step, half step, half step, whole step, whole step. So it's very different. So practice those separately. Practice those separately. And your A minor scale, go ahead and write that all out. Remember, no accidentals, no sharps or flats, just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A again if you like. But make sure that the minor, you write a lowercase a and a lowercase m, okay, for minor. And then your minor chord. And then on the back side, A, C, E. So you go ahead and spell out the chord, A, C, E. There we are. Practice them as much as you can until they become very easy, and as always, have a great day.